Nerd on the Podcast is proudly partnered with Apogee Electronics and Odyssey Headphones, leaders in the field of audio. When you know you're better, but that other chick bought the premium pack.
That's pay to win.
What is, everyone? Welcome to Nerd on the Podcast. You didn't need, but you deserve, where all levels of nerd are welcome. I'm going to try to read this and look at the camera at the same time. So those of you watching the YouTube video, buckle up. A life lived untrue to itself is a life wasted, and even heroes can be idiots. Today, we are diving into the 4-time Oscar-winning film loosely based on the Crane Iron Pentology book series with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Now, real quick, we are doing this because the movie is 20 years old.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
20 years old.
And still slept on to this day.
It is.
So slept.
Man,
So slept.
but hard agree.
Yeah, before we start stuff off, I'm Corey.
I'm Tom.
I'm Caitlin.
And I am Josh, and this episode is brought to you in part by the members of the Nerd On Nation that is powered by Patreon.
Patreon.
As a member of the Nerd On Nation, you do get fun perks, like you get early access to these episodes. You get bonus episodes that nobody else hears. You get access to private channels on our Discord server that only Nerd On Nation members get access to. And you also get what we call the Nerd On Nudge on our other weekly show, the Nerd On Update, in which we answer questions from you, the people. And if you are a Nerd On Nation member, you get your questions answered first. It's really cool. So check that out. Check out that Patreon. It does, another thing is it helps us to grow, get better, create more content, because we love doing this. And that support helps us. So check it out, nerdon.tv/Patreon. And check out that Discord, by the way, nerdon.tv/Discord. And
Check it out.
Check it out. Big shout out to our partners, Apogee and Odyssey. Apogee have equipped us with the Hype Mic. It's a fantastic, versatile microphone that anytime somebody wants a recommendation for a USB microphone, I'm always like, check out that Hype Mic. It can be used on mobile devices. It can be used on Mac. It can be used on PC. And we use it for pretty much all of the content that we are creating in current times. So
I use it for gaming, to be honest with you.
It's pretty great.
It's pretty dope.
NGL.
Pretty dope. And check out Odyssey, Odyssey headphones. They have these that we are working with, the LCD ones, but they also have a whole line of pretty amazing headphones. They have the Mobius headphone that is their 7.1 headphone that I have actually used to mix 5.1 things. And they also have their new product, the Pemrose, which is specific to gaming for Xbox, PC, and PlayStation. 2 different models.
I want it.
Yeah, I want it. We may or may not be able to play with them soon. Anyway.
I want it.
So
I got that Xbox One. Give it to me.
Gives it to me.
I got the Xbox One too, though. But whatever it is. I'm too excited.
But yeah, check them out. Odyssey headphones. They are dope people to work with. Great customer service. Check them
Great
out.
product.
And that is the housekeeping. Shall we get on to this epic masterpiece that is Crouching Tiger?
Move it along.
Yes,
Moving right along.
there's so much to talk about in this movie.
Footloose and fancy free. Getting there is half the fun. No? No one? Muppet movie. No big
Get
deal.
DMCA'd right now.
I appreciate that you think I was singing it that well.
Yes, always, Corey. Your dulcet tones bring joy to my life.
So, Tom, what's next?
So what's next, guys? So everyone listening, welcome to the show. But also, we're going to talk about our two following segments, which is it's pretty fun. It's pretty loud. But at the end of the show, we are going to rate this film because it's one film. There's another film, but we don't talk about that film. We might one day, if you ask nicely. And so right now, that brings us to our first segment, which is
Guess That Crumb. Crouching tiger, hidden dragon, fighting, flying, bamboo fashion, prepare to count down. Sorry, Tom.
those
I
are
actually
all,
tried to follow yours a little bit that time. It didn't
well,
go
those
well.
are all the
but I did
emotions you're going
try.
to get when you watch the film. If
Yeah.
you've never watched
Yeah.
it before,
Set to the theme of Rocket Power from Nickelodeon.
yeah, but also you're crying in the background. There's a little bit of rock going on.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, if you've never watched Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, don't be worried because this is a spoiler-free segment until we get to our favorite parts.
Don't be worried.
Don't be worried.
Be
Be happy now. So Guess That Grump is where we're going to go around the digital screens here. You should be watching on YouTube. And guess who's going to have the lowest number from his rating from 0 out of 5. No matter how high the number is, the lowest one will be the Grump for the week. Since I always explain and I always change it up, I'm going to guess first.
Yeah.
I am going to guess that
It's tough.
Josh
Okay.
will be the Grump for the week. That's me.
All right, Josh, who you got? Who
This
you putting
really
in mind?
is-
You got
this-
you got $10. Who you laying it down on?
I am going to guess that it will be. This is hard because I kind of know people's feelings. Caitlin. I'm going to choose Caitlin.
Oh, okay,
Caitlin-
buddy.
That off
no
of
matter
Caitlin
what
was
choice.
like,
This is like
Caitlin's
is a
like,
tough
you've
one.
chosen porn.
Don't bury the lead too
Holy.
much. Kaylin, who you got? Who you got your
I
money
picked
on?
Josh
Mainly
mainly because you held that face for way too long when you got picked by Tom.
why didn't you choose me or Corey, Caitlin?
I fucking wonder, Tom. Why wouldn't I pick you on this
But-
movie you've talked about incessantly?
But maybe our listeners could pick us, and how can they do that, Corey?
Well, I still need to vote first.
But
And then I could tell you.
But you're not a real host, Corey.
I'm just the guy who takes the notes.
play the guy who does the show. Sorry.
Now I kind of just want to spite vote Tom just to get him on the board.
do
but
Do it. See what
No.
happens.
no.
Square up.
Josh, I'm sorry.
Josh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
So to answer your previous question, Tom, how can people vote? Well, if you become a part of the Nerd On Nation today, you could become our Guess That Grumper gas fed?
Guess
Grass
what?
fed. For
I know,
Caitlin,
but I
grass
said
fed.
gas fed.
Tree.
Gas
Is it
engine,
diesel or unleaded?
grass fed, gluten free, grain high. Guess That Gator Grumper guesser.
I like how you look like you're reading something like we have branded this.
No,
We have
it's
not.
just I'm looking from into my own brain.
Got it.
Okay, great.
Cool,
So
cool,
if
cool.
you want to participate in polls where you can guess that grump, you can join the Nerd On Nation. This is essentially what I'm saying with all that. And the Nerd On Nation has spoken, guys. And I love y'all. They voted for me. And
I love y'all. But man, y'all probably going to be wrong.
so that's a vote for me. Meaning, Tom, you will be giving your rating first. And then it will be Caitlin and I. And then Josh last.
All right.
So them's the nuts.
What?
I like to bust them.
Is that a phrase?
Oh, Tom.
It isn't. It's in when you get the nut on like in poker.
Oh, I try to get the nut all
yeah.
the time.
Yeah,
Got it.
All right,
got it,
and
got it,
we
got it,
move
got it,
on
got
to
it.
something
it's
else
not
before
what it
Tom
means.
goes down the back
It's not
alley.
what it means.
So for our next segment, which is going to be the complete spoiler of this last segment, is going to be our initial reactions and our first impressions talking about the film. Again, spoiler free. Corey wants to go first.
I do want to go first.
Go
I
ahead.
do.
Okay, go.
Patreon. Thank you so much for supporting us. Listen.
Shout you, homie. You're the real one.
No, to preface this, why it actually might have been an educated guess is because when I first saw, I saw this when it first came out. What year was that exactly?
That was.
I was young.
The year 2000.
Okay,
It's 20 L.
so I was 11, right? I didn't understand what I was watching, and I wasn't like unfamiliar with subtitled films, so it wasn't lost on me. They were like, why can't I understand them? Like I love Patrick Willems, but he had this bit where he was like, kids our age were like, oh, in like 10 minutes because of rush hour, I know they're going to fast forward to America and it's going to take place there. And it didn't. I thanks to shout out to my dad, Jolie. I was used to foreign films. But I remember how beautiful it was and how cool the fight scenes were. But I got none of the subtext when I was young.
You were like,
And
fight
to be-
scenes.
I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, that first fight scene, I was like, "Oh my god, you can do this! People, you can put this on film, and people will pay you to watch it. Like, I'm gonna be a filmmaker." With Tom, And so fast forward to watching it for this was like, I only watched it one other time in between then and now. So it's not a film that I've revisited a ton. But having watched it now, taking notes, paying attention, with the edumacation I've got from life and watching films, holy shnikes. That's all I'll
My
say.
favorite shoes. Who wants to go next?
Tom.
I'll go next.
All right.
Um,
Josh.
all right, everybody.
I'll go next. So I was 11 when this film came out.
So
ahead,
I
Josh.
was 15 when this movie came out, and this is one of those few movies that I remember seeing it in the theaters. Like I remember the experience because when I was a kid, my dad and I had a tradition that I was with him on Christmas Day, and we would go see a movie. Huh?
Tradition.
Tradition.
Tradition. Tradition.
We would go see a movie, and that particular Christmas, we chose Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I remember being completely just enthralled and watching the movie, just like, much like what Corey said, like, holy shit. I remember the whole world going, holy shit. My dad fell asleep, but that he doesn't really get fantasy films. He doesn't really want to watch those. So, but I loved it. Transferred 20 years. I haven't seen it since then. And I watched it a couple of times in prep for this episode. And again, like Corey said, like, then I was like, oh, fight scenes, these are cool. Now I'm like, oh, there's so much meaning here. This is wonderful. There's subtext. It's like Shakespeare with fight scenes.
Yeah.
It's like,
I actually found myself enjoying, like, not the fight scenes more.
yeah,
The fight scenes.
there was so much to it. So I just have to say that whoever voted for me, end
So all of
sentence.
us.
End sentence. We'll get
All
there.
of us voted for you. All of us.
Yeah.
Josh, all of us.
Yeah.
Look around the room.
All
Everyone.
of us.
Everyone voted for you.
All of us.
Caitlin?
So my first experience watching this movie was to get ready for this episode.
Holy
Wow.
I had never seen it before. Not a single time. I'd only heard of it and like seen the commercials that popped up for the movie when it was going to theaters. So this was quite an experience. And hilariously enough, at the very end of the movie, I remember very vividly the first thing I said is, "What?"
Uh-oh.
What?
Josh,
yeah.
right.
But I really liked it.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Dude, great applause.
Cora's like, yeah,
she
we
didn't
saw
say
it
she didn't
coming.
say I liked the movie. She said I really liked it. So it means
Yeah.
that's a 4 point.
So this is your first time watching it. I just want to say, as to quote Ginger, Scary, Sporty, Posh, and Baby, spice up your life. Add these movies to your list, y'all.
Yeah, I will say that it didn't feel like something that came out in 2000. It feels like something that came out like now.
Did you watch the 4K
I have no idea.
remaster? Because I did, and fuck.
My experience was amazing.
I don't think so because it's on. I think
Amazon
it's on
Prime.
Amazon Prime right now.
I think
So
they
it's
gave you the
just-
4K version.
Yeah, Amazon Prime is the 4K version.
Oh, then I lucked out. Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it was beautiful regardless. Even if it was pixelated and my internet connection was shabby, I would still be like, "This is beautiful."
This is beautiful.
That's a whole discussion we can get into, film versus digital and what you can do with that. But
Oh yeah,
Ah.
and
I think that might be a op-ed, Tom.
but it was some things that could have felt very easily cheesy did not. And there's even a point where you're like, are they doing that? And then they do it, and you're like,
I'm so glad that they
mad.
did.
I'm not mad about that. I'm not mad that they did that right now.
There is, I mean, this is a small tangent just on that point. There is a thing I love about actors that they can do and certain filmmakers. It's the reason Jeff Daniels was cast in Dumb and Dumber. He's a serious actor. And
Yeah, you
Jim
seen
Carrey
Newsroom?
fought super hard to get Jeff Daniels because he wasn't playing into the joke. He was playing this guy as actually being an idiot.
You play the
and
joke seriously.
Yeah, believing 100% what he was doing was smart and the right thing to do. And he's the only person Jim Carrey was like in the audition was like, him. I want him. And I feel like that's here because I'll be honest, like it's goofy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If anyone wasn't 100% committed to walking on bamboo and treating it like it's a normal thing, it wouldn't work. Anyway, sorry, that's my tangent.
No, I mean, I am in absolute full agreement with you there because like so much of this could have been super goofy.
Mm-hmm.
And the fight scenes were beautiful and amazing, but also they could have been goofy too.
Yeah.
And they weren't. They were really fucking cool. So I wanted to start talking about stuff, but I don't want to spoil anything.
It's an
I
entire
gotta do my
genre of
synopsis.
I like
I gotta
the
do my
movie,
reaction.
guys.
Yeah.
It's there.
All
I
right.
really like the movie.
Okay, so
Really liked it.
I watched it. I was 10? I don't know. I was 91, whatever. I was 10 years old probably. Yo, everyone listening, and if you're not Asian or if you're not this kind of Asian, I'm going to tell you a secret. Asian families that are not from America don't like to watch shit and pay money for it. I think the first time I watched this was on a VCD. If you don't know what a VCD is, it's not a bootleg camcorder like in a movie theater. This is like someone somehow stole the film reel, digitized it, and made it into like a VHS, but on a CD. So like you pop that in, there is no menu. It just plays. I think that's pretty much the first, and you remember this because it was in a clear little plastic bag.
It had a written label.
No, it had printed artwork.
Essentially bootleg.
This is printed artwork. It's cheap.
Somebody committed.
It's not gaudy, but that's just how it is. And I think that's the first time I watched it. It was on a VCD, and I remember my parents were like about it. And I think, to Corey's point, The Matrix had come out. You know, I've been watching like American action films. I'd seen Jackie Chan's First Strike, Rumble in the Bronx, all those Hong Kong films as well. But then, like you got the Rush Hours and the Schwarzeneggers and all that, blah, blah, blah. But on my dad's side, he and they would watch like what is considered Wuxia films or shows, which is pretty much like the fighting and acting style of this. Not really the acting style, but more the fighting style where people are flying around. And for me, as a kid who's watching Dragon Ball Z, it was just the literal translation, right? I was like, that's fine, whatever. You're just watching it. You won't acknowledge my thing because mine's a cartoon, but yours is like just as stupid. That's fine. But then
It's fine.
That's fine. I'm not even not furious
but
about
as a kid, it was just like, okay, there's the American version, or here's the mainstream Hollywood version of what my parents normally watched. I remember it was just like there was two schools of cool if you were a kid, right? And so like there's all the people who loved The Matrix, and there's a lot of people who liked Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon because even then there was rivalries for no reason. But I'd watched this film later on, and I never really wanted to go back to it because I think as a boy, I didn't care for the romantic subplots that the film had. And then I rewatched the film for college. And it was actually to study subtext in foreign cinema. And that's when I watched it and I had to write a report on it. And I was like, what the fuck? Did I watch a different movie? Why?
You're like, what am I, Professor New Eyes? This is a whole new thing to me.
Yeah. And I was just like, oh my God. And then I had watched, so I watched it for class, after taking some curriculum, and then, watched it with a different, perspective, and saw what it's trying to say and what it was trying to do, and newfound love towards it. It's kind of like the moral of the story. But I've watched it several times between then, which was like 2012 or 2011 till now. And I watched it twice in preparation for this, and I started watching the sequel on Netflix, which we don't talk about. I love the film. It's probably one of my favorite films, probably of all time, I think. because I think I know what it's doing and what it's trying to go for, and I just really appreciate the master craftsmanship of doing it. That's it. That's me. So now we'll switch gears and go into our brief synopsis and
production.
So
So a brief synopsis will be read by me. In the 19th century, Qing Dynasty China, a warrior, Chow Yun-fat, gives his sword Green Destiny to his lover, Michelle Yeoh, to deliver to safekeeping. But it is stolen, and the chase is on to find it. The search leads to the House of Yu, where the story takes place on a whole different level.
that's it. No spoilers, babe.
That's it. No spoilers.
Dun, dun, dun.
And the production, so it's distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing, that is responsible for distributing Spider-Man, all of the Spider-Man films, The Shawshank Redemption, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Director is Ang Lee, who has done films from Life of Pi, Lust, Caution, and Sense and Sensibility. Producer is Bill Kong, who has worked on films such as House of Flying Daggers, Fearless, Curse of the Golden Flower. Sue Lee Kong, who's worked on films Fling by Night, The Personals, Tonight Nobody Goes Home. And Ang Lee, who has produced films such as The Ice Storm, Tyrant, Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk. The writers, Huang Hu Ling, who's written films such as Eat, Drink, Man, Woman, Legend of the Demon Cat, The Crossing. James Seamus, who's worked on films such as The Hulk, Corey's favorite, Taking Woodstock, and Pushing Hands. This is The Incredible Sulk.
Yeah. I do have some words I want to say about that because I am pretty harsh on it, but
yeah. And Ku Jung Sai, who's written films such as Water's Origin, The King of Drama, and 8,000 Good Nights. The cast, as previously mentioned, Michelle Yeoh is from Tomorrow Never Dies, Kung Fu Panda, Crazy Rich Asians. Some few. She's a long history of film, but some from my American brethren and sisters.
She's a legend.
Right now.
yeah.
Chow Yun-fat from Replacement Killers, Dragon Ball Evolution, you know what I'm saying? Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. Zhang Ziyi from The Grandmaster, Memoirs of Geisha, and Rush Hour 2. Cheng Chen from Happy Together, upcoming Dune film, and then filmed 3 times. Si Hung Lung from The Wedding Banquet, Pushing Hands, and The Touch. Cheng Pei Pei from Lilting, the Disney Plus Mulan film, and Come Drink With Me. Release date for the film officially May 18th, 2000 at the Cannes Film Festival, and then US got it in December 8th, 2000. The runtime is 120 minutes. Budget was $17 million, and it grossed $213.5 million. And the Rotten Tomatoes score is 97% from critics of 157 users. And 86% from an audience of 391 users.
Okay, so 24% of the people didn't understand the film, and they're wrong.
So it did okay.
It did all right. It still seemed pretty well. Now that brings us to our favorite parts, our favorite characters, our qualms, and then our ratings. So this is all going to be spoiler full, everyone.
So go watch it.
Bust out that Amazon Prime. They're not paying us, but cut the check, Amazon. And go watch it today, and we'll talk about it soon. So we'll see you then. But now let's do it. Favorite
Those
parts.
of you who have seen the movie, here we go. Yes. I mean, I would. The first fight is like it's such a taken off point where the chase, where she steals a sword and she's being chased through the city, and you get to see the wire fu, as they called it, for the first time. And the fight between her and Michelle Yeoh is just like it's a beautiful so dance, good. And I think it just sets the tone where you're like, oh, okay, yeah. Let's do this. Let's do this more.
Especially my favorite part of that particular fight is when they're I obviously don't know the terms, but they're doing something with their hands, and Michelle Yeoh pushes her hand back and like forces Jen back, and it's just like it establishes the power that is there.
Yeah,
of like,
I mean, there's
oh damn,
Ang Lee. There's an entire sequence where it's just their feet.
Oh, I love
Fighting.
that. Yeah.
And it's on paper. If you were to just say that to someone, they'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
They have a little foot fight.
If you just went up to someone, you're like, "Oh man, the part where it's just their feet when they're fighting, dang." But when you watch it, you're like, "Oh my god, I've never seen something like this before." So that first fight for me, especially, is just like wonderful. Is absolutely wonderful. It is my second favorite fight in the whole film.
Go
I
ahead.
already
Josh.
know what the first one is.
I was just gonna say, I think the next fight between Jen and you so that's the unarmed fight. The armed fight,
Also known as the armory fight.
the armory fight. I love that fight.
So
Yeah.
I love.
Yes.
I also like that there's a little bit of comedy in it. I like that
When he
there's.
flops back with the giant weighted hammer
I
thing.
love watching these two women fight together. They're just so. The thing about this film that I like, an overarching thing that I love is I love the fluidity, not just like the wire fu that we're talking about, but it's just the fluidity of their bodies, of everything.
dance
that
of
they're
it
doing.
all.
Yeah. But I got to shout out this YouTube comment that I saw because I wanted to rewatch this fight. And this YouTube comment was, "When you know you're better, but that other chick bought the premium pack."
That's pay to win. That is some pay to win bullshit of like, oh, I'm just gonna,
I've got the sword of destiny, but you are so much better. And then that leads into the bamboo scene that is just the greens. Like
Lee Mubai, baby.
I never knew how much I like the color green until you watch this movie and you're like, that's pretty.
I think Ang Lee even said in an interview that like, what do you like to do with movies? What do you like to have in movies? And he goes, anything green. I like green.
That's why I did the Hulk.
He said that movie gave him nightmares too.
You know what? I'm gonna sidetrack it here because we brought up the Hulk twice now. I have been vocally harsh on this film without saying I do respect what he was trying to do with it.
I will say I liked the comic book panels.
Yeah.
As an adult now, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cute. It's like, it's kind of dumb, but it's kind of cute.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. I think I got to give him credit for risking a lot and doing something vastly different from what. I mean, comic book movies were not mainstream yet, and they hadn't figured out, for better or for worse, they hadn't figured out a formula to it yet and how it can be told. So I got to give props to Ang Lee for taking something very early on and taking a high risk with very little reward. And I as much as I think that movie is needs a lot of work, it missed the mark, I do respect where he was aiming for.
So now that apology done by Corey, my favorite part is it's the romantic shit. It's
I'm shocked. What? Tom liking romance?
So the funny thing is that Ang Lee will say that he doesn't have like a quote unquote continuity between his films. And so like, let's talk a little bit about auteur theory. And a lot of people are like, what an auteur is. And a lot of people disapprove the auteur theory in itself. Auteur theory is pretty much like, there is a single signature of a writer or a filmmaker when he makes a film. And there's quote unquote the sole responsibility for the creative vision of it. Whereas, you work with hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people, and you create a bunch of jobs, and you work in different countries. So how the hell can you control every aspect of it, right? I think there is a sense of theory where it can't be so rigid, and I think there is a little bit of that in this film, is that rigidity in your life is, causes suffering. And then rigidity in how you think, like Corey, causes you to make apologies in the future. So, what I really
no regrets.
Yep, exactly. And Ang Lee's kind of overarching thing is repression. Is that there's always some sense of repressed emotion, like the Hulk, and in all his other films as well. So in here, I love the Lee Mubai and Yu story, where it's just, they are so noble. And they understand where they are in the world, that they can't simply have the luxuries of living a normal life because they've chosen the warrior's path. And
it's basically Batman
probably
wanting to give up the Batman life and then being like, I can't yet.
Yeah. So
I'm a sucker
really
for some
that.
symbolism, but to that, what you're talking about, when they're sitting in that kind of hut-looking thing, but it's a concrete.
Oh
hut.
yes, and the square.
And this, it's like it's just like a very rigid concrete hut, and then on the outside is this beautiful forest, and they're talking about how they've led their lives, and like
It opens up
Did you
with
at
that.
home get that? Did you
Yeah,
get that at
it
home?
opens
Symbolism.
up with him looking at the frame, and it's like as if he was looking at a picture, but it's not. He's looking at the world outside of his
Where's my
normal
triangle?
confines.
Yeah.
symbolism.
And it's that's
man.
the thing. Again, it's like mise en scène, very
And, like,
simple mise en scène, guys.
And they set it up beautifully. There's one line that kind of sets the whole thing up where she's like, "That's why you came, right?" And he's like, "I didn't know about the sword being stolen until I got here." And
He's
you're
like, "But why did you come?" And then the good writing, but someone shows up.
And then at the end, when he says, I've already wasted my whole life," you're just like,
Yeah, the line. Yeah, to extend that point, one of my
she
favorite.
shows up, what, 30 seconds late?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows how late? But
Yeah.
it was, I would rather be a ghost drifting by your side as a condemned soul than enter heaven without you. Because your love, I will never be a lonely spirit. And I was just like, I was,
Tom was a puddle on the ground in tears.
I say this, I've said this, like, there's few movies I get up after when I'm laying in bed and I start watching. It's like, that was when I got, I'm like,
He's hugging his pillow. He's got his blanket over his head.
I'm like,
and
up.
he's
It's
Tom's
you
like
get
up and he's like, "Whew."
It's like when you
I'm not
play video
crying.
games and you're on the last life and then you lean forward and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
moving
Then
the
it's
controller.
serious.
Just maybe it'll help.
One of my favorite parts that has to do with that whole storyline is the governor telling you that next time he sees the Mubai, he's basically gonna like beat him for being an idiot if he doesn't like.
It's gonna get an earful.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he doesn't say that he's ready to love you, then I'm over it, and I'm not even that involved.
Literally everyone is over it.
for you.
It's the opening of the episode where the heroes can be idiots, and that's
Yeah.
Sir Tay. He's talking about it, and I love. He kind of reminded me of my cabbages because he was like, kind of like,
Yeah,
it's like my home is turning into a warehouse. They take it, they
bring
put
it back,
and they
take it again.
I was like, gosh,
But
but he's such a nice guy, and he's like a good person, and like he was a good friend of both of them. So like obviously he's like the quote unquote the protector of the land.
Mhm.
But also one thing I really enjoyed watching it with 2020 eyes, it passes the Bechdel test
Mhm.
pretty well with flying colors.
Oh yeah.
And that's the
Flying
one thing I really enjoyed
dragons.
was the story of Michelle Yeoh's character and Zhang Ziyi's character, where it was just like there is this woman who is looking out for another woman because she longs for the life that Jenny
She
has.
has.
And it's crazy because like there's levels of admiration going from one side, but then levels of like I wish I could have had the life you had, and like you have someone that you love that can be there with you, but in all honesty, what's going to really make you happy is to be true to who you are, which is indicative of the ending. Because as a kid, I definitely did not understand the ending, and as an adult, I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
holy fuck. Like
Oh.
freedom and to be free and to not live by anyone. And Corey talked about it in the digital green room about the meaning of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Mhm.
That there's masters always waiting in the wings and stuff like that. So it's kind of like stay vigilant, and like that's her character's arc is that like everyone wants her to do something other than what she wants to do. And I was just like, oh my god. But then there's Michelle Yeoh's character who's like, bitch, like sometimes it's like the things that people want for you are good things, but it's like you won't really appreciate it unless you go out and do your own thing first. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
I mean, people praise, rightfully so. I don't want to take any credit away from this, but Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot for being like, finally, a strong female lead. And you're like, yo, 20 years ago it happened. There was two. There was two. We had two of them,
There were two.
but y'all slept on it
yeah.
because it has subtitles.
Yeah.
I mean,
another. You can go.
Go ahead.
I just really enjoyed the entire like going out into the desert to get her comb situation.
Yeah, that
It's
whole.
Where she like
such an anime girl thing.
just all of it. Yeah, she's super like ridiculous. It was just great. And she's just being a pouty brat the whole time.
Mhm.
And it isn't until she chills out and is like, oh, I don't have to be a butt about any of this, I guess. But it's still my comb. Like, and then it becomes this symbol of like, you know, a thing that they share. And then she's like, I'll get it back, or you can keep it for now. And
well, it provides a little bit of like a cautionary tale, right? Because at first, when we first meet Jen, it's like, okay, I'm this like prissy girl who like is like restricted, so it's like feels Disney princess, right? But then when we get that backstory, it's like, oh, she got a taste of what freedom was, and then so she gets
now
back
she's
into reality.
resentful a little.
Well, now, yeah, and she longs for that life, and she likes like she looks up to the warriors, and when she gets the Green Destiny, what does she do? She lashes out just like a kid. She starts fights all the time, and she's a prodigious warrior. She's highly capable, and it's that
you use the word prodigious.
I love that she's just like, your name is stupid and I hate you. Come fight me.
Come fight me, bro.
And that's they're okay. And so I'm gonna bring up real quick. I know Josh, you had a point, but I gotta bring this up real quick. We were gonna record this a while ago, and then we moved it. But then when we did, Corey and I were like juiced. And when we were like, yo, what this is like the Star Wars movie we didn't deserve, but we got. And it's Lee Mubai is like Qui-Gon, Jen is like Anakin, and there's like, like he sees this like potential within her.
Evil.
And like the training at Wudon, which is like they'll never take a woman. He's like, they'll take her. And I was like, like Lee Mubai, who's just like so Jedi, is just like, I'm out, but baby, like I don't need this more powerful sword. It's a green sword. Sorry.
Yep. Lightsaber.
I read that online
got so
where somebody
passionate about it.
Somebody was like,
it's
George
great.
Lucas, nobody can make a better Star Wars movie. Ang Lee, hold my beer.
Hold my bamboo.
Another scene that's kind of like that Jedi training moment is when Master Lee Mubai is putting Jen kind of in her place with a stick. I just like, I just watching that, I was like, oh, he is so badass.
Yeah.
He also sets up for the ending too there. Like whenever he said you have to throw yourself away to find yourself, I was like, oh, that's going to be relevant later.
That's going to hurt later.
Well,
isn't
also
it?
the story with the mountain and the boy who made a wish.
Oh yeah. I mean, they like hand it to you in a couple different ways.
Yeah.
My two absolute favorite parts, like hands down, little things, the minutia of things. So the dropping cup. So it's all about
the tea
you being a detective
and the
figuring it out. And like basically calling her out in front of everyone with only her and her, you know what I mean? Like it's just between them.
Only they knew.
But
She's
everyone's
not
there.
trying to make a big deal out of it. She's
So
trying
the
to help
dropping
her.
of the cup, and she catches it perfectly, and she's like, they haven't caught her yet. And you're like, oh. And then the handwriting dexterity, where she's like watching how steady her hand is and being like, bitch, it's you. It's always been you. I don't want to, we'll get into favorite characters later, but like that whole sequence of her figuring it out I was enthralled every time she was on. I was like, she knows? She doesn't know? She knows. She doesn't know. She knows. She definitely knows. Okay. She knows. That dropping cup scene, I probably rewound and watched like 6 times because it's like, it's so smooth and it's shot so well. And the insert is so well. I don't know. It's all good.
Like, just with the calligraphy, it's like, you're like, isn't it crazy that calligraphy is also really good, like sword fighting? And then she just ignores, like, oh, do you want some tea?
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
It's like she
Nothing?
And that's the thing where if you're watching and engaging, she knows.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She already knows, and she's
like
just
early on.
I'm here to tell you that I know.
I'm trying to drop breadcrumbs so you know that I know without actually saying it.
Well, and is that not the name of the movie? Like that these hidden masters are everywhere. And that's like, and for the people that are around them, they have no idea. They're like, oh, she almost dropped her cup, but she caught it. That was
that's what an accident.
Essentially just because you can't see it doesn't mean danger
calligraphy.
isn't nearby is what the title of the movie means.
There's one thing I really like about the film, and it could be based on the book and all that stuff. Like we did V for Vendetta a while ago, and there's a conversation about revenge versus love in Count of Monte Cristo, where here Lee Mubai chooses love over revenge, because at the beginning of the film he talks about like, I have to go, avenge my master and kill the Jade Fox. But then he's like, I think that's behind me now, and I want to just travel the world.
Yeah.
And there's that.
So close.
It's the quote unquote we've seen the stereotype of like it's the cop's last shift, and then he gets pulled back into for one last thing, and then blah, blah, blah.
And he has that heartbreaking line of like being like, I thought giving this away would free myself, but no matter where this sword goes, it brings death and chaos. And
it's like he should have gotten a reverse blade sword, huh?
Rurouni Kenshin.
This is a prequel to Kenshin.
Is it?
No.
Huh.
I actually started watching the live action movies, and we should talk about those sometime.
I wanna see 'em.
My last favorite thing is more of an overarching thing of the whole film, and it's the sound design, but specifically the twang of the sword when it's wobbling. It's like, and it's like it's very,
You speed
very,
that up. What sound do you get?
Pee Wee Herman.
A lightsaber.
Oh.
I'm
Waka,
not.
waka,
That's how
waka.
he used it. He used a basically
Metal rod.
metal, wobbling metal, and then tweaked it up a little bit. If you ever hit a cymbal, a crash cymbal, and then put your ear real close to it, you hear a lightsaber sound. So it's literally Star Wars.
Kaylin, she doesn't even know what to.
This is Star Wars. It's always been Star Wars. We just didn't know this was the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was the movie itself.
It's kind of like
It
George
was the
Lucas
Star
took
Wars
a lot from Akira
all
Kurosawa or
along.
something.
Almost.
But to that point as well, Josh, like the overarching thing, like
and
the
the soundtrack?
fights, the soundtrack is great. I think just the fights we talked a little bit about, but it's just like there is a sense of wide shots and being able to like not do camera tricks to make it look more powerful than it actually is, because you're just watching it. And this is like it's again, it's nothing against American Hollywood action films, but Hollywood itself does not reward people that take longer times with fight scenes. And to ask that point, it's like, with storytelling, it's like, well, what does a fight scene have to do with anything? Like, I don't want to watch a 30-minute long fight scene. It's like, when it's done really well, you watch fucking fireworks.
Respect to Ang Lee for having the foresight and the, I don't know what the other word I want to look for is, but essentially the willpower to give these.
Commitment.
It's not high octane.
Mm-hmm.
It's not none
Patience.
of these fight scenes. Yeah, thank you. Patience. None of these fight scenes are like, whoa, oh my God, it's happening. It's all happening at once. He'll let things breathe for a long time. And he has no problem having them in the middle of a fight start jumping from rooftop to rooftop for 2.5 minutes with almost no sound underneath it, except the shuffling of feet every time they touch the ground for a sec. Like it's not about let's cut to every angle to make sure that this whole fight scene feels like
Coverage.
your head spinning.
Yeah.
Like I want you to see every movement.
Another shout out to Patrick Willems. I love what one thing that he said was that the fight scenes are like musical numbers in a musical, like a good musical.
yeah.
Like the musical numbers, they don't just come out of nowhere. It's like they have a purpose.
That's what I was gonna say was that like if you watch the film, and everyone who's on the show, if you watch the film again, now knowing everything, like you see the emotional dynamic argument in those fight scenes. So like at the very beginning, there is this sense of like, is it peacetime now? Or is there going to be a warring new evil that like kind of reigns through the land that the warriors have to protect? And that's when you see Michelle Yeoh's character have to like chase Jen's character. And then Lee Mu-bai is kind of like, again, immediately seeing like that there will always need to be a protector, and he sees it in an unorthodox place. And it's Jen's trying to establish herself as powerful and strong, but it's under the tutelage of someone who is deceptive and evil. And so like all the different type of fights you see are very indicative of how the character fights and then what is happening in the emotional state. So like the armory fight is one of the best fights because you could see the emotional stakes, because it's when Michelle's character's like, that's it, I'm done, we're fighting.
Our friendship is no more friendship, it says.
I also loved the idea that she had been hiding that she had surpassed her master for years.
Yeah.
It was a heartbreaking
I didn't
moment.
know how to cope that I could surpass you. And I myself didn't know how to come to terms with it. I just kind of did it.
Yeah,
one
well, there to me, there's something I really like about really powerful dialogue. And I mean powerful as in like, Nolan stuff, but I mean like this is like power fantasy stuff where there's a line where it's like, get up so I can push you back down kind of thing, where she says to Jade Foster, it's like, if I explain it to you, it would just be gibberish. Like, you don't have a fundamental understanding of what these scriptures mean. I was like, ooh, so good.
So anyway, that was like a goosebump scene for me. Where I was like,
I think
oh, shit.
Talking about the fights is also, again, in the same interview that I was watching with Ang Lee, he was talking about how dancing is like going out of yourself and fighting is pulling in. So it's very hard to do choreographed fight scenes because you're wanting to show all this fluidity of motion and show everything without it being like, all body locked up into each other. And that's why the one thing that I was like, this could have been really goofy, but it wasn't, was the like ribbon twirling as they disappeared. Because there were so many times where they would just like, they would point their fingers in a direction and then they would fly that way or whatever. And I think this film does a really good job of balancing the like fluidity movement out of dancing, but also the pulling in and strength of fighting. Like it has a very, very good balance of that. That's where it could have gone goofy. Like if it went too much more into fluidity without the strength, it could have just been we're dance fighting. But if it went too into the like strength power moves, then it would have been like Dragon Ball Z. So, it strikes a really perfect balance that I haven't seen done very much
at all.
Favorite characters and
favorite characters. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
I can. Okay, go ahead, Josh.
Number one favorite character is you. I love her. I love her journey, what she's going through, the depth of it. There's just so much, and she's just so strong, and I love it.
She's bae.
She is bae
She
for
is.
days.
She really
Michelle
is.
Yeoh is I'm gonna second that. Favorite character is.
Do we not have a second favorite character?
Oh, I didn't know if we were gonna do side or it's just second
two
overall.
favorites.
Okay, go ahead, Josh.
I'll
Finish
say Lee.
yours. Sorry.
Lee
Mubai.
But I really
he's a
like
pretty good
Jen
choice.
because I just love watching her inner turmoil of just what she's going through, and there is like that anger that she has and what she's trying to prove. Huh?
I'm kidding. I'm fucking with you. Because he's like, Lee, but I like Jen. I'm like, all right, this is 3.
But then there's Jade Fox, and then you got
for me.
No one cares about your third option, Josh.
Yeah.
See how it is, Corey? See how it sounds somewhere else?
No, it sounds good. That's what we should be doing.
Okay.
It's 2. It's 2. The 1, 2. So, Michelle Yeoh is. I'm a huge fan of like pretty much any. I don't think she can do wrong. In my book, she cannot do wrong. I think she is criminally underrated as an actress and as an icon that she should be. And then Jen, 100%. Their first fight scene, their armory fight scene, and all the moments in between the two of them, the sleuthing that Yu is doing to figure out who the new ninja in town is. It's just a fantastic dance. Physically and mentally that the characters go through. And just the sharing their heartbreak together at the end, not sharing it together, but in that moment of she was too late and Yu has lost the love of her life. Like that was really wonderfully done. So those two.
Really extra sad.
And that part where she wakes up and she realizes she's being poisoned and the water drops in her face. She's cleansing herself with the fucking past. Anyways, Caitlin, you gonna go favorite?
You copy paste.
Mm-hmm.
She's just great and cool and awesome and fun and wonderful, and also kind of dumb about the whole love thing, but in a lovable way. And then Lo,
Dark Cloud Boy.
Dark Cloud Boy.
A little
Because-
Aladdin, huh? A little diamond in the rough.
He's a little diamond in the rough. He's a little Aladdin boy.
I didn't want to kidnap her. I just did.
I had no interest in doing this, but she
It just
tracked me
happened.
down like a bloodhound, and I couldn't get her to go away. And he could have been this terrible person, but instead he's like, listen, I'm going to feed you a little chicken, I'm going to give you a little milk, and I'm going to get you out of my hair. And then she's like, my comb. And he's like, oh, stop, though. And he still
they
saves
danced
her.
around the outskirts of Stockholm Syndrome without making it happen.
Yeah.
He what?
I
They
said
danced around Stockholm Syndrome because the fact that like he did not quote unquote physically kidnap her, but he had her within her care and he kept something from her, which trapped her in that spot.
Yeah. It
Trapped.
if it had danced any further,
But she had the
into
option
that-
to leave the entire
Yeah,
time.
the whole
so
time.
that's the dance.
Yeah.
So that's they played with that just well enough, and he wasn't being like a creeper.
I had forgotten about that, and I was like, oh man, did this part not age well? But it did.
But it did.
It's like Beauty and the Beast.
Crouching Tigers, Hidden Dragons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Be on the
Right
lookout.
there. And I like that he's like not like he's grown up fighting and having to deal with scraps and stuff. So he like does really well in the fights with her, even though she's like this
When
amazing.
she shows up to the camp and fucking kicks ass, that first jump kick where she
Yeah.
gets like 3 of them in one, I was like, oh.
Oh, all of that. I mean, favorite parts is the whole movie, let's be honest. But yeah.
She's like, where's
so,
my comb?
Everyone, if you lose a comb, you have all the right to do that.
You have all the right. Just don't like
Fall in
Never
love with
mind.
someone you shouldn't fall in love
don't
with.
fall in
Tommy?
love with your captor if you
Yeah,
get
because then you'll just jump
over
off a cliff. So that's your second. So me,
Yeah.
I think it's copy paste Josh. It's you and then Lee Mubai.
Mhm.
I think I just like them as characters because they provide a kind of mentorship, but also they're like, these are heroes. These are like, in terms of cinematic storytelling, like you look up to them because they don't talk about the glorification of fighting and being a warrior. They can whoop all the ass in the world, but they want that life that we have as
They
civilians.
want to not whoop all the ass in the world.
You know, like it's their responsibility to do what's right, and it's pretty much their trade to, fight people, kill
Gotta
people.
love
for
Chow
money.
Yun Fat, man.
So,
Yeah. And
Dude
I mean, like,
shines in this movie.
I think, it's a big credit to him as a actor who's built a career being like the action guy and then take this more passive, like I can still whoop a lot of ass, but, at peace. And I want those days behind me.
It was interesting to read their, some of them did interviews about, because it's a specific dialect of Mandarin that they're speaking. And he said that he had a hard time with it, which is it's very interesting to me. I just did not know.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's like doing
English
a New
guys
York versus Southern versus
Yeah.
a California
versus
accent.
Baston.
A lot of people, English people from they have easier times doing Southern accents because they're actually very similar to an English accent. They pronounce a lot of the vowels the same, but they have problems doing like New York and Boston. Boston is the one that no one in England is like, I'm not doing Boston.
That's fair.
You
That's
also
not
watch
gonna-
Black Mass with Bandit Cumberbatch as a Boston man.
Yeah.
I did. So now qualms, everyone, and not about Black Mass. But go ahead.
Qualms. I have one,
go ahead.
and it's one I didn't want to have. It's a inner turmoil with myself because arguably for myself, it's one of the most beautiful scenes in the movie. But the bamboo dance, I don't know why. I rewatched it probably 4 or 5 times trying to figure out exactly what it was that wasn't sitting well with me. And it's the crossfades. They just take me out of it, and it becomes, it's that silly thing that we're goofy, a little goofy, and it's gorgeous. And of course, one of the most iconic shots of the entire movie is
Upside
in
down.
that scene.
Yeah.
Not the upside down, the one where she's turning.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
it's a beautiful shot. And every time I see that shot, I'm like, how the fuck did you do that? That is gorgeous. But I get it's this like
You
dance
get
of-
what it is, but you just don't like it.
the way it's edited gets me every time. And I'm just like, it takes me out for that bit. And then at the end, I'm right back in as soon as he cuts down she cuts down the tree.
Oh
And
man,
he kind of
when
falls. a
she's
little
trying
bit.
to
Yeah.
stomp on it and he doesn't move. Anyways,
Yep.
Any
But
other
that's
qualms?
it. And it has nothing to do with the wire part. Like I like the conversation they're having, and standing on it for some reason doesn't bother me, but it's the crossfades.
That's fine.
Yep.
Any other qualms?
That's my only qualm.
I have one qualm, and I don't want to be hated for it, and I don't want to have it.
well, you could just say it.
I didn't want to have mine either. I got you.
Because I feel weird saying it, but I'm not 100% complete a fan of the wire foo kind of thing. It's
Wuxia.
a pivotal identifying thing of this movie. But there are
Yes.
a few scenes that it for me it's like that's a little silly.
May I interject?
Of course.
And let you know that there is a large majority of people, at least I've read a few articles that have stated this, large majority of people in China who think this movie is very silly because of the overuse of the wires. It happened in a lot of famous Chinese movies in this genre. There's a lot of that jumping really high, but they're usually in like powerful moments or, they're not used throughout the film.
It's seen more as a soap opera like technique.
Yeah.
To talk about that.
And it's used at pivotal moments as opposed to like every fight scene. So
Like-
you're not alone in that.
I would say it like this, where it's kind of like
It doesn't ruin
you know-
the experience for me. I let me just say that.
Throw that out
They-
there.
and it's not all the time. There's only a few
Right.
scenes, a few parts where I'm like,
Well, like what I'm
were you
going to say is
Tom?
kind of like
Yeah.
this apples to apples is kind of like anime fight scenes versus Dragon Ball Z fight scenes are very different things.
Sure. Yeah,
And so it's
exactly.
just like
That's a really
one or
good
the other
comparison.
thing. Yeah, it's just
You're
a
not alone,
style.
but-
It's just a style. It's just like also like comic book.
Ang Lee
fights,
just took it to 11.
comic book fighting styles versus like watching the Expendable fighting styles. Like those are
Yeah.
two very different things.
Yeah.
Kayla,
that it?
Quam?
Is that all your qualms,
oh yeah, that's it.
Josh?
I don't-
Okay.
Tom?
I don't at all.
He doesn't.
None?
So, Caitlin?
Not at
Not
all.
a single?
I could have told you that.
Yeah.
That's why he didn't pick me. Well, he did pick me. No, he didn't pick me.
I did not pick you. I wanted to
Um,
spite pick you because of something. I don't remember why. I'm over it now. See, that's why we don't do spiteful things, folks. All right.
Because then you get over it, and then you're mad that you did something out of spite.
So wait, Caitlin, you don't have anything or what?
I'm thinking really hard, and I've been trying to think of something.
I guess she
but
doesn't
I
have
don't
one.
Have anything? So
That's fine.
I guess that's
so the way
my
this is going to go
answer.
down for our ratings is Tom, you're going to give yours first, then it's going to be me and Caitlin, and then Josh.
how quick can he say 5?
I'm going to say, Caitlin, we're going to go alphabetical. So C-A-C-O, and then Josh.
Okay.
They should have
Next time
called
it's you and me, we'll go reverse.
They should have called this the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, because that would have been 5 words, and that's my number.
Wow,
Yeah,
I knew it.
I already
Fucking
had it
stupid.
written down as 5 next to your name. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I wouldn't change a thing. As an American viewer, as an Asian dude, blah blah, like all the things that you mentioned, like are all things that you can pick away and all that stuff. If you don't like particular things, doesn't mean it's like wrong that it's in the film, but it's just something you don't like. That's fine. And then for me, watching this film, like there is something that, again, I think I make fun of Caitlin when I say this a lot, but it's like, but what is it about? There's a lot of beautiful films that don't have the things that we talked about
Sure.
in terms of qualms that don't have anything to say. And so this film has so much more to say than a lot of films in the last 17 years. So
I agree. Caitlin?
5.
5.
oh,
What? What am I? What?
You got no qualms.
What would I change? What would I? You?
She doesn't
What?
even have words.
would
Huh?
you
I don't have
want a
words.
visual novel of this?
Huh?
I was like, would you play a dating sim of this?
Yes. Oh my god.
Hell
This
yeah.
will be the best dating sim ever. And
There'd
you
be
get
fighting
the cool
and love.
cutscenes. 5.
For me, it's 4.8.
4.8 for Corey. Uh-oh.
What if they're right?
Maybe.
They might be. Yeah, 4.8. I think this is a fantastic film. I have nothing bad to say about it. It's just that's where it sits on my scale. I don't think I would personally change a thing, but it's also not a movie that I'm rushing back to watch a lot as a let me study this.
Yeah.
Josh.
This is the number that I've had written down for weeks.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
4.8.
It's a 5.
Oh,
Nerd on Nation, y'all.
I wouldn't.
So I did you
wouldn't-
wrong. I did you dirty.
My qualm doesn't. Like I said, and I'm gonna copy paste what Tom said. With my adult eyes seeing this, I was just there was so much to it that I was like, oh man, I
did the Nerd on Nation dirty. I owe everyone in Patreon an apology.
Or maybe they know you more than you know yourself.
Possibly. Maybe some of them do, and I can tell you who do.
Ooh.
Who know me more than myself.
Who knew?
That would be Mitchell G, Mora, and Lukian.
Nice.
Shout out. Y'all got it right.
Y'all got it right.
You got that 4.8 grump.
None of
Hey,
us here.
Man.
I mean, okay.
What are you going to do?
Like this movie though. And also, I don't know why I didn't bring this up earlier because this was like
Why didn't you bring this up,
such an
Kaylee?
important thing. An important thing to me because again, from the same interview that I was watching, it was a very long interview. Ang Lee was talking about the scene of Li Mubai and Yu under the moonlight and being like worried about what to do. He said that is one of his earliest memories. When he was like a year and a half old, he was sick as a child, and he remembers it was like nighttime, and his parents were like over, like talking over him of like, what are we gonna do? So like, and this is the movie that he has always wanted to make. So this is kind of like, in a way, a culmination of both his life and like his dream, I feel like, of what he wanted to do and make. And like having your earliest memory be immortalized in a movie, like that's crazy.
That's how you make films.
Well, he also
no
talked
more
to-
film by committees. Sorry.
I mean, seeing other things about like him talking about his life growing up of kind of the stereotypical expectation that's put on him, but wanting to be an artist of like, and why this movie is important to him as well. Of
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that freedom of expression and whatnot. So he's a very interesting guy. It's very cool to look at the gamut of the films that he has made, of just seeing the difference of like, I'm gonna try that.
Fucking Brokeback Mountain.
I know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So like, I feel like we're beginning to wrap up
feel
here,
like
and
we're
since we're
complete.
near the end, I feel like we have to talk about just quickly what everyone thought the ending was.
Oh, I know what the ending is.
Well, you say it.
Well, she jumps off because it's her wanting to be free. She doesn't choose love. She just chooses her own, like, to do her own life. And is it suicide? Maybe, but it's the fact that she's making her own choice, and she, for once in this fucking film, is actually free.
But is that her actually doing like committing suicide, or is she just like having a good like sugar glider moment down the side of the mountain,
To
and
me,
then
it
she's
didn't
gonna like walk away?
matter.
Yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. It matters what she actually made a choice of.
Yeah. And
Because
I think that it's open-ended on purpose.
And that's the thing. And I'm going to say this, Caitlin, and I love that you brought the question up. But us as American audiences we have trouble with open-ended endings, and we feel entitled that
That's why they changed Spirited Away.
we deserve an answer. But no, we don't.
Oh,
Fucking deserve an
I
answer.
don't
No,
want
Caitlin.
I don't want
just
calm
wants to know
yourself
what
and
what
shush
people
while I
think.
talk. I don't need an answer. I was just
Just wants to
curious of
know.
what everyone
What did
else's
you think, Caitlin?
thoughts were. Because to me it was like from that initial lesson she got from Li Mubai of saying you have to throw yourself away to find yourself again. Like that was her casting off all of the
Like it's more of a
Like-
symbolic fall. Like
symbolic
having a
fall.
float?
like she's not
Because
actually.
she can like she's not committing, to me it wasn't committing suicide, it was I'm going to throw myself literally away to symbolize that like I'm no longer that person I was before. Now I'm gonna train in Wudon and like have the life that both you wanted and I wanted at the same time.
But I'm
But
gonna
I
do
have
it.
to not be the person who I was so that I can be that person. That's what it meant to me.
I'm gonna learn from all these mistakes these people made for me.
Yes.
If we're going in terms of like what that ending would be, I would actually honestly say it was her. She did physically jump, and she doesn't die, but then she just travels the land because
Could be.
it's that sense of like she doesn't belong to anyone,
Mm-hmm.
and she chooses
see
not to
it.
belong to anyone.
Nice.
In my mind. And that's why we
Yeah.
get the reverse shot of of Dark Cloud being like, oh, it's kind of like Birdman. Anyways, so it's exactly that. That's it. That's for me.
Well, yeah, and that's why I was asking is like, to me, that's what the ending was. And to you, that's what the ending was.
Yeah.
And that's like why I love the ending. But at the same time, the minute the film ended and the credits started rolling, I went, what? Because it's like, you get to decide what that meant, basically.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the moral of the story too. Is like these old masters are telling a young person that the choice is yours. It's kind of like the end of Watchmen, where it's like I leave this completely up to you. where it's like you
Josh?
make those decisions.
Any thoughts?
I mean, I really like those interpretations. I literally went to, she jumped to her death. That's where I
That's
went.
fine. That's why it's open ended, though. It's up to whoever's watching it to
The ultimate freedom.
project a bit.
Decide.
I feel complete.
I feel
I'm
complete.
completing.
Everybody
Now
at
I feel
home,
complete.
thank you so much for listening. If you have watched Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, tell us your thoughts. Reach out to us on Discord. Join that Discord, nerdon.tv/Discord, and there is a channel that is called Movies. Let's continue the conversation over there. You can also feel free to reach out, slip and slide into those
Touch
DMs
me.
on all of our social media, which is Nerd on TV, Nerd on TV on everything. Everything. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It's Nerd on TV. Let's check it out. We also, all of these episodes do go to YouTube. So if you want to see the funny faces we make or the silly
There are a
things
lot.
that we do sometimes, check out the YouTube. Check out our website. That is a easy thing to have a one-stop of everything. It has all of the links to everything that we do, nerdon.tv. And there's also something that I'd like to point out on our website is that there is a part where you can see all of the companies that we're partnered with, including Comixology, where you can get digital comics, Amazon, Newegg, Blueberry, who is our podcast media host. A lot of companies over there that if you shop with them, you support Nerd On. A little bit of every transaction goes to us. And just like with the Nerd On Nation, it allows us to get better and keep growing. But yeah, that has been the episode. Stop by, rate and review us. That's the last important thing. Rate and review us and share us with your friends and your family. Get the word out.
It's like someone coming up to you with a big old mug of hot chocolate that they've put like a little bit of vanilla and cinnamon in, and then they put some marshmallows on top, and it's like hot and perfect, and they hand it to you. That's what getting a review is like.
Damn.
It's like you just handed us a mug filled with delicious hot chocolate. That's what it feels
Nice.
like.
All right.
So,
That sounds
drop
delicious.
us that review and
So
that rate.
do that thing. Do that
I
thing.
went a
Give me
little hard
mug.
today, but I'm thinking about hot chocolate a lot.
But anyway, that is the episode. Thank
That'll
you so
do
much
it.
for listening. Take care of yourselves. You know the drill. As always, Nerd On.
Nerd on.
Ending broadcast.